Hello there, and welcome to the How to Market Your Horse Business podcast. I'm so glad you're joining me here today. As you've likely guessed by now, my name is Denise Alvarez. I get the pleasure of hosting you here on the podcast each week. And before we dive into today's episode, I'm going to very quickly introduce myself just in case we're new friends, and then we'll jump in. As I said, my name is Denise, and through my business, Storm Lily Marketing, I get to help dream-chasing horse business owners to grow their business with clarity, confidence, and purpose. Now, I do this primarily through business coaching and then education, such as this podcast, and I have some online learning resources for you all as well. But all that I do, friends, is so that you, as an equine entrepreneur, can be out doing what you love to do, whether you're in the barn, behind the computer, behind the camera lens, in the arena, in the round pen, in the pasture, at the woodworking bench, wherever you are serving the equine industry. I want to help you do more of that. And I just realized I said woodworking. I actually meant to say leatherworking. So thanks for the grace there. Now, today on the podcast, we're going to talk about something a little bit different, but super crucial for you as an equine entrepreneur. Okay. The title is How to Stay Grounded in Your Horse Business When the World Feels Heavy. Now, I want to preface this by saying, go back and remember what I just said. The heart of everything I do here on the podcast is to help you as an equine entrepreneur do more of what you love. And so that includes addressing that sometimes we have unsettledness and things feel heavy. Now, to be honest, the world feeling heavy could be your world feeling heavy in terms of something in your own life personally that's happening, or it could be the world at large. So the reason I started to do this episode in the first place is because recently, inside of the Business Barn Collective, there was a conversation in our private Facebook group, or one of my circles. Each circle has their own private Facebook group for community collaboration and connection. And inside of there, somebody had shared that they were having a hard time focusing on this particular project that they wanted to do because of what was happening in Minnesota. Now, clearly, I realize that many of my listeners are all over the place. And I also realize that you may be listening to this at a time when you're going, it may be later in the year or maybe years from now, and you're going back and you're like, what happened in Minnesota? I don't want you to get caught up on that. Okay. I'm naming a circumstance at the moment. But what I want you to hear and focus on is this idea that many of us are trying to figure out, how do you hold in one hand this feeling of unsettledness around what's happening in the world around you, or maybe in your own personal world, while also trying to run a business, care for your family, show up like a normal person, right, as you normally would, right? How do we hold both of those things at the same time? There's no perfect way to do it, by the way. I just want this to be an open invitation to a real conversation around these things, okay? So in this episode, I want to share with you some specific things that you can do as an equine business owner when the world feels heavy, when your usual motivation just isn't there. Okay. I'm going to share with you a simple process that will help you to just pause, reset, and make the next right step for you with clarity and confidence without ignoring what's happening. Okay. That's not my suggestion at all. Okay, how do we hold both? How do we carry both? So if you've been feeling the weight of things, whether it's lately because of what's happening in the world around you, or personally, I want to invite you to hang out here and listen in for some practical ways that you can continue to go after that big dream, to continue to grow your business. And of course, when I say go after that big dream, in case for new friends, you guys, just a reminder, I say that because success is so subjective to each individual. So you may be listening to this podcast because you've been in business for 20 years and you still are going after new things in your business. So when I say big dream, I'm not saying because you're new to business, right? I'm saying you have a vision for what you want in your business and you're continuing to do the work to chase after that. Okay. Now, a quick caveat, and I shared this a little bit here, but just a reminder. As you know, my heart in this podcast is you, the equine entrepreneur. So this is not an episode at all having to do with news or politics, okay? I realize and I'm very grateful that many of my listeners are in different places and spaces. You're in different places and spaces physically, and I'm so grateful. Some of you are in the United States with me, some of you are not, and that's great. Some of you have different political views, and that's totally fine. This episode is truly not about that because regardless of what your views are, you're an equine business owner, and my heart is to help you, okay? Because you're growing a business, serving your family, as we said, riding and showing, and you don't live in a silo. So the things that are happening around you, they have an impact, right? And so I want to address that here. So just a reminder, you're not going to hear me share my views on here. Yes, I have views just like you do. Okay. And if we were in a one-on-one conversation, 100%, I'm up for relationships and conversations. But I am not the podcaster. I am not the business owner on social media that you're going to find sharing all of my views left and right. And when I say left and right, I realize you're going, oh, there's a hint. That's not what I meant. I meant you're not going to find those by and large just on a surface level social media because I live by relationships. So I build my business by relationships. So there's that side note, okay? I don't want you to listen or not listen because you think I land in a certain way. My heart is truly here to help you, okay? Okay, so let's dive in because the reality is whether you are someone who is engrossed and digesting a lot of information all the time and always up on what's going on and very much in it, always and aware, or you're the person who's like, I tend to not know what's going on and maybe I sometimes ignore it just so I can get my stuff done. Either way, those approaches, they both have an impact on you and your business. And so how do we move forward as a business owner? That's what I want to address because I want to help you take a few minutes to acknowledge what's happening and then be able to make conscious decisions that honor who God made you to be and how to show up for yourself, your business, your family, and your team. Okay? I know that's a tall order, so let's break it down, as you'll know I like to do, in a practical way. The first thing I want you to do, number one, take a breath. And can I just say, I realize how simple that sounds, but thankfully I'm talking to horse people who understand the power of a breath and the power of breathing, okay? Literally getting oxygen to your brain, doing the things that will calm your nervous system, like going for a walk or going for a ride or grooming your horse. Or maybe you're saying, I don't need to do anything. I just need to sit. I need to sit in the pasture. I need to sit in the barn and listen to the munching of hay. Maybe it is getting an app or a video that will guide you through some breathing exercises. Do what you need to do to physically calm yourself by getting oxygen flowing, okay? Regulating your nervous system through breath. All right, the second thing after you do that, okay, I want to encourage you to check in with yourself, okay? What else is going on? Now, here's why I say what else. Because oftentimes what's happening on the surface and what we're stirred up by, it's connected to something deeper. Okay. I'm not here to counsel you. I'm just telling you what I've experienced and been coached in and seen to be true in my other clients as well. Okay. So now that you're thinking clearly, it's important to really acknowledge what's going on in the world around you that's stirring you up. Or maybe you've been feeling stirred up, but you're not sure why. This is an invitation for you to sit with that. Okay. And acknowledge that. What's the event? What's the situation? What's happening that is impacting you? Why is it that you feel impacted or invested? And I want to help you actually name how you feel about that. Put a name to your feelings. Okay. Find out, be curious. Find out what's underneath that. Okay. Now, this may be where if you are a journaler, then you grab your journal and you start to write those things out. It may be, again, that you just need to think it out loud. You will talk in a minute about getting support. Maybe you need to name it with somebody, but take the time to acknowledge what's actually happening, acknowledge why it's impacting you or why you feel so invested in it, and name the feelings around that. And again, you guys, I struggle with some of this episode because I'm like, I sound like I think I'm a counselor. I am not. Okay. This is the coaching side of me that's wanting to help you step back okay, and get to a place where we can acknowledge that. Because if we just are reactive all the time, that doesn't help our unsettledness. So I want you to step back, and that's what's going to help that unsettledness, okay? All right, number 3, I want you to return to your filter. Now, if we are new friends, you haven't heard me talk about this, but if we're old friends on the podcast, you know that I am very big on knowing your why behind what you do in your business. What is the why behind why you get up, why you work so hard? What are the values that you hold so dear that feed into that? What are the values for you personally that are your filter for decision making? And especially because, of course, we're here for business owners, the values that hold true for you in your business. What does it look like to show up with integrity for you? What does that look like? Okay. So return to your filter. Remind yourself of what's important to you and what your personal why is. And then the next step or the next piece of this is to get support. Okay. Now that you've taken a breath, you've acknowledged what's going on around you, how it's impacting you, how you feel about it. Okay. You've acknowledged what's important to you, what showing up with integrity looks like for you as a business owner. And now I want to encourage you to get support, especially as entrepreneurs. We can be so prone to do things in a silo and to think that, frankly, that's what's necessary. Okay. Because you're the leader, you're the founder, you're the owner. You may have a team, but you still feel like you need to operate in a silo. I'm not telling you to go talk to your team about all the things you're digesting, but perhaps you need to call a trusted friend or colleague that does something similar in your space. Or maybe it is not a fellow equine business owner, but another business owner, a local business owner, maybe. Or maybe it is getting into a community such as the Business Barn Collective, like I shared with you in the beginning. That is my curated coaching community. It's a small group program, and we have small circles for people to jump in and say, hey, this is how this is impacting me, and this is how I want to show up, and I'm putting this in here for accountability, or I'm putting this in here because I know this is the difference maker for me, which we'll talk about in a minute. But find that support system and structure that's going to work well for you. Can I just say, going on social media to find it is probably not going to be your best bet. Okay. So when I say get support, I don't mean to go post on social media about how you're feeling so that other people can join you in the comments and make you feel better about it. I'm not saying that's wrong by any, okay? Like that's another side conversation. I just want to clarify that is not what I'm encouraging you to do here, because I don't believe that's the thing that's going to help you the most in this moment with that unsettled feeling. Okay. I have just loved this line that as I was processing these things and putting these notes together, to be honest with you, I want to take credit with it, but I can't in integrity, because I put my notes into ChatGPT and I said, this is the podcast outline I've put together. Are there any spots that I'm missing or gaps that you could fill in for me? And on this section where I talked about getting support, ChatGPT pulled out a reminder that processing doesn't have to be public to be healing. And so when I was talking about being on social media and then it came up with that, I'm like, that's brilliant. I want to use that exact line. So let me say it loud and clear for those in the back. And again, this is not to slam showing up on social media and showing your views. And, like I said, I don't do that a lot publicly. I'm not telling you what to do in your business. I want you to show up in integrity for yourself. Okay. That's what it looks like for me. But I do want you to hear that processing your emotions around the events that are happening in the world or in your personal life do not have to be public processing in order for it to be healing. And the reason I say that is oftentimes we might see somebody else share their healing process or share from the other side, and we think that we should be doing that in order to say that we are processing it. That's not a requirement, okay? So I know it pulled in the word healing in ChatGPT, and I was like, I don't know that we're talking necessarily about healing in this moment, but I think it's important to name that your processing does not have to be public in order to be helpful. Maybe we should say it that way, okay? Your processing does not have to be public in order for it to be helpful for you, okay? All right, next, we'll keep going. The final step is actually for you to get going. So the next thing is for you to determine, okay, I'm going to acknowledge these things, but I'm not going to stay stuck there. because I have a vision for my business, right? And here's what I want you to hear. Making progress in your business is not ignoring what else is happening around the world or in your own personal life, okay? What I want to give you permission with here is to determine what is the next right step for you in your equine business, okay? What can you do in your business that will help you to have a positive experience? So, for example, if you're struggling and feeling unsettled, is there one thing you can do that you're like, okay, that actually is a good adrenaline rush for my body and my nervous system, and I can have positive experiences and emotions, and that's going to help me feed this and process this? So, maybe it is scheduling out your content. Maybe it is writing an email to a customer that you've been meaning to check in with, or a supplier that you know you need to have a conversation with. Maybe it is, taking care of your email inbox because you've not been motivated. You got a little bit behind. What would it look like if that was your next right step? Okay. So just remember, we want forward momentum, and I don't want you to feel stuck. Okay, so those are two opposite things. All right. If you're feeling stuck, you're not going to have that forward momentum. So, what is the next right step for you right now that would help you in this process? Even if you're not feeling motivated, what's the thing you can do? And frankly, going backwards, tell that to your support system. That's why inside of the Business Barn Collective, I ask every week, what is the win we're going to be celebrating this week? And everyone is commenting, what's the thing on their list that they want to celebrate at the end of this week? And we have built-in accountability, right? And it's the same thing. So tell somebody, hey, I've been really struggling. I've gotten behind on my emails. I've gotten behind on my text messages from clients. By the end of today, I'm going to have these taken care of, and put that out there into the world. Okay. Okay, so I've given you 5 things. I want to give you one more that's a bonus, all right, to think about. The 5 were what to do. This is the what not to do, okay? Let me just remind you, and we briefly touched on it, but I think it's important, okay? When you're feeling unsettled, when you're feeling emotionally charged, okay, there are a few things that I want to caution you from doing as a business owner. First is don't rage post. And I know that you're here listening to this podcast because you're not the type of person to do that probably, but we all are human. Okay. So let's just touch on that and just remember it's not going to be the thing that helps you long term. So if you need to type something out, type it out in your notes when you're emotionally charged, but don't put it out there for all to see just yet. And don't make major big decisions when you're feeling emotionally charged or emotionally unsettled and unsure. Okay. Give yourself permission to not make major decisions in that. Don't scroll endlessly. Okay, be thinking about the things that you're feeding into your mind. I'm not telling you not to take in the news, obviously, but we know the science confirms it when you just constantly have things feeding into your mind that are negativity and extreme and all those things. It's not helpful to you. And my goal is to help you as a business owner. Okay. All right, you guys, again, as I said in the beginning, this is a little bit of a left turn from the very practical, tactical types of strategies we often address here on the podcast. But I think it's an extremely important conversation that we have, okay? And I want you to know that it matters to me because if we're friends on social media, you're probably not seeing, actually not even probably, you're not seeing me share this necessarily type of content, and I will be. Let me rephrase that. You're not seeing me share content that's politically charged, okay? But what you are going to see from me is content that helps you as a business owner, all right? And so that is why we're doing this here on the podcast. And so you will see clips from this episode on social media because I believe it's going to help you in your business, and that is my heart. So I want to give you permission as a business owner to acknowledge that you have feelings and that those feelings impact how you show up in your business, and that you can still pause, reflect, make some intentional choices, and grow your business with purpose. Okay. So as you do that, if you're craving community support as you navigate these things, because I did mention the Business Barn Collective, I want to be sure that you know that you are welcome and invited. Enrollment will be open in the spring again. So you can join that wait list so that you are the first to know. Just go to stormlily.com/collective. It's storm, LILY.com/collective. If that sounds interesting to you, if you would like that support and community and small group coaching structure, I would love to invite you in there. But otherwise, my hope and my prayer for you is that this episode encourages you. This episode helps you to feel seen as a business owner, and that it gives you permission to pause, take a breath, and make the next right decision that's right for you in your business. Okay. I'm so glad you are here. I am so glad you are showing up. I'm so glad you are chasing after the dreams in your heart and the vision you have for your business. And I'm honored to support you in that process. So thank you for joining. If this episode has been helpful, share it with a friend. Let someone else know that this is the place where they can find practical, strategic information and support and resources that will help them to grow their equine business with clarity, confidence, and purpose. Have an amazing day, friends. I'll see you back here next week.